We're going to talk more about the debate tonight with U.S. debate specialist Patrick Stewart. Welcome, Patrick. You are the author of the book, The Audience Decides, Applause, Cheering, Laughter, and Booing During Debates in the Trump Era. So you're very well placed to talk about all of this. Now, there will be no live audience at this debate tonight. Why?
Well, part of it is because they just interrupt. They have the potential to throw the debate one way or the other, because the audience listening at home takes their cues from the audience in person. And Donald Trump has effectively used that audience to really build his energy. And we've seen that in the 2016 debates all the way through, where he used that audience to interrupt and to build his momentum. And when people are listening, they're saying this guy has something, even if the facts aren't necessarily there.
Well, right. Well, given that, I mean, wouldn't Donald Trump have benefited from having a live audience at this debate? Why would the Trump campaign agree to do the debate without an audience?
Well, part of it is Donald Trump would love to have them there, but he didn't do that because for the past 3 years, he and the Republican Party have basically said Joe Biden can't stand next to me, and they made fun of his age. So Joe Biden basically said, okay, prove it. And these are what we're going to do. No interruptions, no audience, and importantly, there might be fact checking, and this might influence the outcome of the debate.
Now, another thing is there will be no pre-written note cards, no prompter, obviously. I mean, these men are 78 and 81 years old, respectively. That is a lot to remember. Also, 2 commercial breaks for the first time. That's new as well. I mean, tell us about that.
Well, I think the important thing is you've seen Joe Biden, who's gone into camp, and hopefully he'll retain this information, while Donald Trump has mainly stayed, going on the campaign trail, speaking in front of audiences, but bringing in experts, a little bit more of a loosey-goosey sort of approach. So they have both taken different approaches with this, and we'll see if they're able to respond effectively. Now, the interesting thing is by having this on a private corporation, this is a money-making opportunity for CNN, and certainly it's something that we haven't seen. And it's really a question as far as whether or not this is the way of the future, and if this is something that best serves the American public.
Another big test, of course, is going to be stamina for the 2 candidates. I mean, when you're in a debate for that long, you not only have to be on top of your game, you also have to be aware that the camera is on you at all times. Who's going to navigate that better, do you think?
Well, it really depends upon what the cameraman's strategy is there, because the visual priming plays a major role in what we see. We see both of the candidates side by side. It's whoever is able to respond effectively by not basically looking like they're just losing attention. Certainly, Donald Trump does a more dominance displays, and being able to do that throughout the course of the debate is going to be difficult. Joe Biden, he has a tendency to laugh off attacks. He'll smile when he's being attacked, and he'll laugh as to that. So if they're able to use those strategies effectively, then it will be a replay of 2020. But we're looking, as pointed out, at 2 gentlemen who are elderly, and their stamina might not be there. So that's going to be what I'm looking at.
And you've also done a lot of research on nonverbal communication by political leaders. What should we be looking for tonight in regards to that?
Well, certainly I just talked about Joe Biden. He smiles off attacks. He laughs off attacks. And one of the things that's interesting about Donald Trump is Donald Trump has a contempt smile, which won a unilateral poll of his lip when he disagrees with something. And there's a unilateral shoulder shrug when he says something that he does not believe in. So he has some various different tells that you can look for. But overall, I would look for eye blink rate. If their eye blink rate is elevated, there's high levels of stress. If they're touching their faces, that's a displacement gesture, and that's high levels of stress at that point. So those are some things I'd be looking at.
So this debate tonight is coming more than 4 months ahead of the vote. That makes it the earliest presidential debate in modern U.S. history. Do you think this could be a turning point in the race in any way?
Well, I believe the Biden team hopes it is, because they've been running neck and neck with Donald Trump, despite the fact that they've been fairly successful with their policy initiatives. So that's why it's been front loaded. Also, because there's a write-in mail-in balloting that goes on, which normally wouldn't you would not be able to watch that final debate in October and have your vote count if you've already mailed in your ballot. So having it early definitely does have an impact. Now, an interesting thing is that both of the political parties have not had their nomination conventions yet. So what we might see is if either of the candidates, even both of them, show that they're definitely not prepared for the presidency, that this might be thrown to the convention. So
Right.
interesting times.
And one of the big points in your book is that both major political parties have pretty much given up responsibility to identify, to vet the best candidates, and ultimately
Yes.
lead the country. I mean, tell me about that. How does that link to the debate?
Well, what we're looking at is we've got one candidate who has really no political experience except being the president of the United States. He's a media creation, and he's been effective at utilizing the media throughout his career. Joe Biden, likewise, is someone who has been in the media's eye for a very, very long time. And so what we're seeing is potentially automatic responses by the American public looking at the candidates and saying, I recognize them, I've seen them on TV, I trust them. So that's something that we have to deal with is, are there better ways to choose our leaders?
Patrick, just to wrap up, in the past, have presidential debates been able to move the needle in close races? I mean, we all have that famous image of the Nixon-Kennedy debate in 1960. Has anything happened since then, or could it happen in this particular debate that might change the way people are going to vote?
There's this great article that's called Debates Are for Losers. And what basically it says is that the debates have potential to go ahead, turn off those who are undecided, as well as demotivate the supporters so they might not make it to the polls. The problem is that when we look at debates only in public opinion, it might not capture actual behavior. So I think that's one of the things to go and consider is who's actually going to come out of this enthusiastic or maybe scared of the other candidate so much so that they're going to vote for their candidate, even if it isn't the best choice.
All right, Patrick, thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us there very early in the United States. That's U.S. debate specialist Patrick Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you.